Honestly, I didn't know how to get out of that situation. Just enduring their gazes, falling down on me, was a serious option. But fortunately, without letting me suffer too much, Jessica initiated with a couple of words. "I think you look great, not gonna lie." At first, I thought it was some sort of irony, but the soothing smile of Chloe convinced me otherwise. Without making a huge break, Jessica continued. "Well, I'm only here because curiosity brought me here. When I saw the schedule for today, I saw your name on it, and further, the action that ought to occur. So I decided on catching up with Chloe to see you. And speaking of that, I had the question, who would be the mummy now? For the moment, I forgot completely about my chili head issue and frowned. I mean, earlier, you were the mummy, and since that bandage of yours has been removed, does it mean that the sides have switched? So Chloe is the mummy, and Aaron is the daddy." Without listening to her abstract sentence further, I just felt cringy like never before. "Please, just stop speaking," I begged inside my head, seeing it as a ridiculous attempt to pair us off. Corresponding to that, I made myself a little bit smaller and intensified my gaze at the door handle. I swear, when she continues, it will not last much longer until I were able to open the door with psychokinesis. But luckily, before someone could witness an outbreak of my supernatural abilities, she receded and announced her leaving. We only smiled at her wordless, so she saw no occasion to return spontaneously. Although I was glad that Jessica avoided the tomato jokes, I still felt severely ashamed, and paradoxically, I wished to regain my bandage. So out of inner turbulence, I kind of turned myself away from Chloe, while still remaining in a seating position. For minutes straight, an unpleasant silence was predominant. I didn't want to arouse something, and further, I didn't know what she was doing either. I stayed on my side of the room, being the statue, and Chloe, according to my assumption, stayed on the other, as a person watching the statue. But that was when I perceived a weak pressure on my bed right behind me. Initially, I didn't pay too much attention, but when the pressure intensified and started to make me nervous, I twisted my whole body with an impulsive twitch. It felt just like inside a movie, when the director makes a cut, and the viewer jumps from one situation to another. Just like that, I noticed Chloe suddenly sitting on my bed, whereas a couple of seconds ago, I saw her miles away sitting on hers. I found myself inside a space, secluded from any social activity, and particularly from Chloe. Corresponding, I felt everything except for comfortable. And I didn't make a secret out of it when I shrank back from her to create a distance of at least 1 arm length. She was aware of that, obviously, and tried to calm me down. "Hey, I just wanted to come over to say hello. I mean, until now, we were only at my place, so I became curious whether it would be the same." Although I deeply appreciated her attempt, I just couldn't help but increase the distance between us even more. I was then situated exactly at the corner of my bed, where my pillow met the rim, and therefore I just hoped that it would be enough to escape from whatever she was trying to do. I was highly conscious that it was nothing bad, but I just found myself in that mode in which I was way too dependent on my appearance. Further, I averted my eyes from her and stared at the floor, and in the same manner I perceived this pressure again. But this time, it was not behind me. It was right next to me. My body commanded that with an excessive perspiration as Chloe squeezed herself right next to me. Before I could jump to further action, she spoke. "Do you still think that I'm special?" My anxiety somehow was replaced with wonder as I had to consider an appropriate response. After I helplessly rang for words, I pushed out a small, "Yes, of course." For some moments, no further action occurred, so I stared at her and she at me. While I witnessed her gaze becoming more serious, she continued speaking. "Then why would you think I react like you would expect the others to do? It's true that most of those people we call normal stared at you in reluctance, and some of them even made jokes about you. But as someone special, I'm telling you this. Not everyone is that way. One will even see you as beautiful when 1 million call you ugly. And here is the newest entry in your dictionary. When someone likes you superficially, the bond between you will age and eventually die, like the body does. But when someone likes you, even when the eyes are closed, you can be sure by them you're loved the most. As she said that, my whole body started to tingle, and so did my mind. Unlike the most sagacities I received inside here, that one was understandable without further thinking. I didn't think at all. Instead, I felt the meaning. But first and foremost, I felt one of the most important people in my life just sitting in front of me, then smiling. So you don't think I look funny or ridiculous? She laid her arm onto my leg and responded softly. The only thing being funny is the evening we have before us, when we continue with our session. I couldn't help but sigh loudly when I exhaled. The words she spoke went through my ears to my brain, where they were compared to past usage of the same. Without any doubt, I had every word of her in my vocabulary, but it was a whole new context used, and the situation fell in line as well, as those words were transferred straight to my heart, where they triggered emotions I never thought existed. In the first moment, I just wanted to hug her and thank her for being here. But altogether, it might have been the most difficult thank you in my life so far. Since she had her hand still on my upper leg, I overcame the last obstacle that prevented me from saying thanks physically. The future, what would happen, and the past, with what had happened, didn't matter anymore. And so it came that I raised my arm and slowly approached her. At the end of the motion, she was engulfed by my arms, and vice versa. Furthermore, our heads were propped by each other's shoulder, so I spoke silently. Thank you. The further moments just passed, while no one made any attempts to resolve our position. The situation also remained almost entirely speechless, as I was the only one pushing out a quiet thank you from time to time. The estimated 20 minutes only found an end as she concluded. That was the truth you had to hear, more so, that was important for you to hear. And I was just the lucky one giving you that message. Aaron, I like you not because you have that haircut or that skin tone. I like you because you are just the person Aaron stands for. Call me crazy, but think about the following. Does anything happen out of the blue? Or is there something that causes it? Are you maybe here for a reason? Was it no accident? But how many refer to it? Was it destiny? With all those questions unsolved, she gradually stood up and moved back to her bed, while I dwelled in the moment she left me in, thinking about the questions. But above all, I had to confess that she probably showed me an essential fact. Number 11. My loss of weight. All that was based on my urge to appeal to others. It was nothing bad. But I just made that more important than it should have been. I mean, what are friends that like me only because I look acceptable? And on my trip to be liked by others, I would undoubtedly have gone that path. And the fatal were that I disregarded my inner being completely. As Chloe showed me in a couple of minutes, it was essential to find inner connections with people, and not only similarities in outer preferences. I mean, she was the proof. I could tell by myself that I was everything but attractive, and still she showed me that she liked me. Even as a tomato man, as I was able to choke again, I further thought about what she said. Said about destiny. Well, it was hard for me to avoid the following daydream. Two people meeting under more than strange circumstances, and just noticing that they have something like a prefabricated bond that makes them feel like they already know each other. To be honest, that were basically the plotline for a novel someone could compose when he thought about the term love. But as the term novel implies, it's only imaginary, and yet I've recognized the simple pattern behind. And that in real life. I mean, I'm not this esoteric spiritual person that likes to dance with bees and butterflies, and I never was, but somehow it's way too much randomness. The things that happened that led me to Chloe, I don't want to say I'm becoming a believer, but There's just more beyond comprehension. And even then, it's a matter of what you believe in. Destiny? Yes. No. I have no clue. But maybe knowing is the wrong strategy anyway. While I kept on staring at the ceiling, I concluded a lovely but also daring vision. Believing and faith is a complex matter, and oversimplified I noted that believing in oneself is important and essential. But gradually I saw that me-faith, in case it was already available to me, replaced with a sense for something like an us-faith. But again, if I am an expert in anything, then not in relationships or intimate encounters. So yeah. Once more, I experienced the phenomenon to have more questions that I was able to answer. But unlike earlier, I wasn't occupied with that the whole time. After all, I had something in my presence that was worth focusing on. And yes, the idea to come forth with such a primitive thing was astonishing, to say the least. In fact, it was the catalyst to experience one of the most romantic situations in my entire life. And it revealed to me what most mean when they use the term love. Even when I was highly uncertain as to how I could know something about love. But anyway, without further high understanding, I was able to formulate what the voice of some deeper faculty said. I'm in love.